Why does the price of asphalt shingles keep going up? The cost of building materials like shingles and lumber skyrocketed during the pandemic because of supply chain shortages. Then, in 2022, asphalt production took another hit from high oil prices, which went up after Russia's invasion of Ukraine sparked global supply concerns. But unlike oil and lumber, asphalt shingle prices haven't gone back down, and manufacturers have announced more increases this summer. IKO, Atlas, CertainTeed, GAF, Malarkey, Owens Corning, Tamco, and Pabco are all raising their prices 5 to 10% in August 2023. So what's going on? Are manufacturers price fixing? Price fixing is a normal or implied agreement between competing businesses to raise, lower, or maintain their prices. In general, it is illegal. But with 8 major companies all announcing their price increases within a couple days of each other, you might wonder, are they talking behind the scenes? We asked Dan Tinker, CEO of SRS Distribution, whether he thought shingle manufacturers could be fixing prices back in 2021.
Let's talk about price increases. On your website, I checked this morning, you have 2 price increases already this year, February and April. 7-10%, huge price increases.
Mm-hmm.
Not a little ones, not a couple percent. And obviously you have price increases from all manufacturers. What's behind it? And do manufacturers get together to increase their prices? Because when I look at I went to your website and I read every single email, OC, Malarkey, ICO, Atlas, all the players within days. Like I think most of them in February sent a letter February 9, like because you look at the dates, it's always like within a day. It's either February 8, 9, or 10, within 3 days. So they must talk to each other. And
No, that's not allowed in this country, as you know, Dimitri. Look, it would be illegal for them to do that. Look, I will tell you though.
How can you explain that 5 manufacturers within 48 hours make a 7 to 10% price increase?
Yeah, I think you have to understand that in any industry that has whatever you want to call it, an oligopoly or a consolidated industry where you have less than a dozen participants, which certainly we do in the asphalt shingle world and the commercial roofing world, that there's a market leader and there's people that decide when they need to go up for whatever reasons, whether the asphalt costs are rising, freight costs, people costs, whatever it is, they have to pass those on. They make those decisions absolutely strategically, independently. Trust me, with legal counsel review. But if you go back and look in history, you will always find one manufacturer, not one every time is the same one, but one announces, and then others in the industry decide that, hey, yeah, we actually could use that price increase as well because our costs are rising and it's time to pass it on. The whole concept is really about everybody wants to commit to be competitive, right? So if they're competitive in pricing on today, on Monday, and then Tuesday, their competitors all go up 5%, why would they not go up 5%? Because they're still competitive. So it's just basic, again, back into business economics of, well, if you own 2 gas stations across the street from each other, you see when your competitor across the street changes his price from $4 a gallon to $4.05, why would you not go out and change your price to $4.05 as well? You both make another 5 cents a gallon. That's basically because of information and the internet and the fact that competitive data transfers. Trust me, the minute I get a price increase from a manufacturer, I have to let our people know. So now thousands of people know, but they've also sent it to all the other distributors. So you have hundreds of thousands of people that know about the price increase the minute the first company announces.
So they have
and it would be, yeah. And so I think but here's the thing, in over 25 years I've been in this industry, traditionally, majority of price increases did not stick, which is why I think a lot of contractors for years, other than you mentioned it, back in 2008, we had a rising shingle market. And you mentioned one thing, if shingles didn't really go backwards. They did. From 2008 to basically last year, they fell backwards about 10%. It was very subtle and very slight.
Contractors never have a price.
But contractors never come to us.
For you they did, but not for us. Not the end consumer.
But contractors come to us every day. They don't come to us and say, hey, your competitors are charging us more. You need to raise your price. No one does that, right? But every one of them comes to us and says, hey, Home Depot or Lowe's is selling at $5 a square less than you do. So our pricing goes down. We have to meet that competitive situation. So our pricing only goes down. It never goes up unless it's a price increase. So think of the price increase, whether it happens, like you just mentioned in February or April, that's just getting back the price we lost probably over the last 12 months of everybody saying, your price was $80 a square and I need you to be at 78 or I'm not going to give you the order. So we have downward pressure all the time. So a price increase is really just getting us back to where we need to be to operate the business and make the returns we have to keep the doors open and really provide for all the employees and get the service that our customers want.
Dan's gas station analogy makes sense. Two competitors across the street raise their price whenever they see the other guy doing it. But there are more than 2 shingle manufacturers, and they operate on a much bigger scale than a single gas station. So is it really normal for them to raise their prices at the same time? We asked Jim Long, an antitrust lawyer, who says the legal term for what shingle manufacturers are doing is conscious parallelism.
Conscious parallelism is where you've got to follow the leader approach, and what the distinguishing fact, whether that's illegal or not, is whether there's an agreement that you're going to follow the leader or not. But just acting in your economic self-interest to do that is not illegal.
But there is still some gray area in the law. An illegal price-fixing agreement doesn't have to be formal or written down. So what's the difference between just following what other companies are doing and breaking the law?
Great question. And you would argue this cases on the margin all the time. All I can tell you is there has to be a meeting of the minds, but the agreement doesn't have to be in writing, and it doesn't have to be explicit, but there's got to be a meeting of the minds. And so where that line is, you got me.
Ultimately, Jim says price raises on their own are not enough to prove price fixing in court. You need some evidence of an agreement to go to trial. And there are other factors that could explain the cost of asphalt shingles, like inflation. Data shows the initial sale price of asphalt shingles increased gradually between the end of 2008 and 2020. If you compare that to the price of manufactured goods overall, shingles are basically following the same trend, with smaller dips in 2009 and 2020. We can also see that the price of shingles shot up in 2021, again following the larger trend for manufactured products. While inflation overall has started to come back down, the price of shingles is still rising. So how do manufacturers explain this? Of the 8 companies announcing price increases in August, only Tamco and Pabco mention why in their notices, citing a rise in costs and ongoing pressure on production and delivery costs. We reached out to the companies for comment but only received a response from IKO. Their spokesperson said, many factors impact pricing generally, including cost of raw materials, transportation, labor and supply chain. Not an exhaustive list, but these are significant factors. As a privately held company, we do not report on or share specific financial data related to our operations. IKO also acknowledged that asphalt shingle production does have an obvious relationship to the oil industry, but that it is just one of many factors that determines pricing. When we asked why IKO announced price increases at the same time as other manufacturers, they said IKO does not discuss pricing in any fashion with other members of the industry. Decisions on pricing are an internal matter, not an external one. Unfortunately, if more manufacturers are unwilling or unable to share more about why production costs are going up, we can only guess. What do you think? Leave us a comment.